Welcome to the Healthy Brain Podcast. Thanks for joining me today. Today, I have a really interesting podcast to talk about Yoga Nidra or non-sleep deep rest. You may have heard this buzzword NSDR, especially if you follow some of the high-level fitness or functional fitness platforms, people talking about NSDR, but actually it's Yoga Nidra, and Yoga Nidra has been around for hundreds of years. So, as I like to do here in the podcast, I like to explain the brain science behind some of these amazing tools and why you may want to incorporate it into your daily or weekly routine for a healthy habit. So in today's episode, I'll explain what Yoga Nidra or non-sleep deep rest, and I'll just call it NSDR, what it is, how Yoga Nidra affects the brain and the body, the science behind it, and I'll explain the stages of Yoga Nidra, the steps the instructor actually goes through, and why each step is important, and how to start the practice yourself and try not to be nervous about doing it. And I really am a big fan, of course, of yoga. I'm a yoga instructor and meditation, breath work. All of that can help so much in our body and our brain. And we're learning every day, and the researchers are giving us lots of research about the benefits of all of these modalities that we've been using for hundreds of years. People have been using yoga, yoga nidra, breath work, meditation, and now we do have the support and the documentation and the research to show this benefit of all of these modalities. All right. So, what is Yoga Nidra? In Sanskrit, it means yogic sleep. And it's been around, like I said, for around 100, well, not 100 years, hundreds of years, as long as yoga has been around. So, you're going through a process of a guided meditation while you're lying down, or now traditionally it is done lying down, like in corpse pose. However, you can, and I often will do it sitting up if I'm on an airplane, if I'm a passenger in the car. Don't do it while driving. So you're not the driver, you're the passenger. You listen and visualize as the instructor is guiding you through specific steps of this Yoga Nidra. You're actually relaxing your body without actually sleeping. It's cool because many people will say after they do a 10 to 20-minute Yoga Nidra session, they sometimes will just fall asleep or they wake up feeling very refreshed. You will focus on your breath, but it's not a breath focused practice necessarily. It's more of a guided visualization through your body without any specific linear progression. So that means that the instructor will start by bring your awareness to your left foot, and then may say, bring your awareness to your right shoulder. However, some instructors will focus on the foot and say, focus on your big toe, your second toe, your third toe. And after going through the foot, we'll switch to the shoulder. So it really is up to the instructor and their guidance in bringing an awareness and a guided visualization to you as you're going through this Yoga Nidra. When we look at the effects on the brain, there's a few areas in the body. So I'll say the brain and the body. We have seen benefits and changes in these main areas, and then I'll dive into each area. So the effects of the brain is shown with changes in brain waves with Yoga Nidra. There's changes in the nervous system channels. There's brain activation in specific areas of the brain, and there's deactivation or dampening in other areas of the brain. There's also neurotransmitter release, which is exciting because our body really is based on neurotransmitter release or inhibition. And I'll explain those neurotransmitters that you've heard of before. I'm talking about dopamine, serotonin. You've heard of these. It's just a scientific term, neurotransmitter. All right. So with the brain, I've talked before about brain waves. And when we're in our to-do action everyday mode, our brain waves are in a beta wavelength. When we sleep and we're going to sleep, our brain waves shift and they go from beta brain waves to alpha, then theta, then delta in the deep rest. That's why the REM sleep and deep rest, deep sleep is so important for our brain because our brain waves change to this theta and delta. The cool thing is, as I've explained with meditation, is depending on how deep your meditation is, you actually shift from beta to alpha to sometimes theta. And if you are an experienced meditator, the brain waves will shift to delta. This is mimicked in Yoga Nidra. So the same thing happens as you are lying in your Yoga Nidra meditation and being guided, your brain waves shift from beta to alpha. Now, I've read some research that will throw out and say, oh, patients have went to delta. Well, delta, as I mentioned before, is experienced meditators, but also means that you may dip into a deeper sleep. That is possible with Yoga Nidra, but more than likely it's beta to alpha to theta. Regardless, this gives your brain a little bit of a break from that activity level, that high activity level of the beta brain wavelength. And that's why many people, just even if you took and just looked at brain waves, that itself can be so beneficial. The Yoga Nidra can be so beneficial just from looking at a brain wave and decreasing the activity of the brain to give it just a break during the day or winding down at the end of the day. In the nervous system channels, the Yoga Nidra practice helps us shift from the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight. It's the heart rate increases, blood pressure increases, respiratory rate increases, shifts from sympathetic to parasympathetic. And the parasympathetic is when our heart rate decreases and normalizes. Our blood pressure normalizes, everything, the respiratory rate decreases. The parasympathetic nervous system is important. It balances the sympathetic nervous system. And when we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system through Yoga Nidra, through meditation, through breath work, yoga, variety of ways that we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, this results in a decreased stress response in our body. Yoga Nidra has been shown to shift the body from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic nervous system. As far as the areas of the brain that are activated or dampened or deactivated, there's an increase in activity or decrease in activity. Research has seen that there's a response in the hypothalamus with Yoga Nidra. There's increased activity in the primary sensory cortex. And what that results in, the researchers are suggesting there's a decrease then in executive function, in emotional processing, and motor planning when those areas of the brain have been changed as far as activity. So just activity level, not necessarily the brain has completely changed, but just during Yoga Nidra, those areas of the brain have changed as far as activity level. Now, there is a hypothesis that as Yoga Nidra increases relaxation, there's also a decrease in anxiety levels. And that could be because of the nervous system shift to parasympathetic nervous system. It could also be because of the different areas of the brain that are not as active. It could also mean it could also be because of the brain waves. The brain waves have shifted. So really the takeaway is, hey, if there's something that can increase your relaxation and possibly decrease anxiety levels, then why not do it? Of course. No, I want to go through some of the neurotransmitter changes that happens. With Yoga Nidra, there is a release of dopamine in the striatal cortex, which results in decreased motor planning and increased physical relaxation. That is really exciting. That now we've heard a lot about dopamine. We get a dopamine hit by looking at our phone, by doing something that's fun and exhilarating. Well, we can have a release of dopamine naturally by doing a Yoga Nidra class, in that it can increase our physical relaxation. Other neurotransmitters that have been demonstrated to decrease is cortisol. And that is a buzzword or a buzz neurotransmitter. When we are stressed, our cortisol levels go up. It's a normal response, but the problem in many people in our stressful society is that our cortisol levels are high. And there's also a inverse relation with cortisol level and melatonin. As cortisol levels increase in the morning, it wakes us up, it gets us going in the morning, our melatonin levels decrease, and that's normal. At the end of the day, what we see is cortisol levels will decrease, melatonin levels will increase, and that makes us sleepy, and we can go to sleep. So this specific influence and change in the cortisol level, when you practice Yoga Nidra, you'll decrease the cortisol level and subsequently possibly increase the melatonin, and then that is what leads to the relaxation and the sleep. As I mentioned, some people do use Yoga Nidra as a way to go to sleep. And when you're looking on your meditation apps, you may find that your Yoga Nidra will be under a sleep category. You don't have to do it just at the end of the day. You can do it in the middle of the day. We'll talk about that a little bit later, of how to incorporate it and how to start practicing. But back to the neurotransmitter, there's also an increase in serotonin levels, which is the happy neurotransmitter. You know, serotonin, people will say, well, I get that. There's a serotonin release when you eat something, I think it's turkey. No, that's tryptophan. That's tryptophan. But serotonin, it's really the feel-good neurotransmitter. So that has been shown to increase in levels. The serotonin levels increase with practicing Yoga Nidra. Another interesting neurotransmitter that is affected from Yoga Nidra is GABA. Now, GABA slows down signals between nerve cells and helps us to remain calm, even in stressful situations, by regulating anxiety and lowering muscle tension and stabilizing mood. GABA is an inhibitory transmitter in the brain, and GABA levels increase during Yoga Nidra, and this helps us to calm down. Another neurotransmitter is oxytocin. That's a chemical that makes us feel good. It makes us feel safe, secure, calm, and at ease. It also regulates blood pressure, reduces pain, and helps us heal faster. So just with Yoga Nidra, all those benefits, it's amazing, isn't it? And that and the researchers have shown this benefit is just fantastic. It gives you more motivation to try it out. I hope it does. Now, one other area that I'm actually really interested in exploring more, because you can see here that I have this, it looks like a watch, but it's the Whoop. I've been trying the Whoop for the last month, and it's been really interesting. I'll put a link below if you want to try it. You get a free month to try it, just a trial, and you can cancel. They send you one of these. It monitors sleep, but it also monitors HRV, stress levels, and the HRV, I said HRV. Yeah, HRV, heart rate variability. That's what I'm thinking of. Heart rate variability. And I'm interested to look a little bit further into the benefit of Yoga Nidra with heart rate variability and heart rate. Some researchers have found that Yoga Nidra improves our heart rate by shifting the balance of the nervous system from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic nervous system. What I've noticed with my Whoop is I can have a really good sleep, really restorative, almost 100%, but my heart rate variability has changed quite a bit, and that will affect my recovery. So I'm going to do a little project or a little research on myself to see if I practice or do something similar to Yoga Nidra. Is that going to change my heart rate variability? And I'll see if it changes my recovery score, because I am miffed as to how my heart rate variability score is changing, even though I've had a restful sleep. So stay tuned for that, and I'll be sharing it. All right. Now, overall, then with Yoga Nidra, there's improvements in emotional regulation, and the Yoga Nidra practice can actually possibly assist in decreasing anxiety, stress management, depression levels as well. So, with all of that being said, the last thing that I do want to the last thing, as we're talking about the benefits, before I get into the steps of Yoga Nidra, is with yoga, it's based on prana, which is the life energy, or the breath. Pranayama is breath work or breath practice, and prana is the life energy. There's nadis, which are channels through the body that our breath and our life energy goes through. There's almost over 72,000 different channels. When the flow of our breath is disturbed, when a channel is disturbed, either through physical blockage, so maybe you have an injury, maybe there's extra weight, maybe there's the tension, whatever it is, our body cannot function optimally. The practice of Yoga Nidra helps to restore prana at the and I'll put the woo-woo out there, at the quantum level. And this itself can be really, really helpful for you to think of when we have prana and our life force, our prana is moving through our body efficiently, that will help our body to restore and to rebalance and to maximize the potential of our body and mind to heal itself. Okay, let's get into the process now. I'll briefly go through the steps, and just keep in mind that each instructor will have a different take on this process, this 8-step process. What that means is it's just like a yoga class. You'll take a yoga class from one particular teacher, and another teacher will give you a completely different class. However, the weaving in of the same principles and intention is consistent if you compared both of them. So just keep that in mind, that you may have a different yoga nidra that you like to practice over another one. I encourage you to explore what is out there. So usually what to expect is the first step is you're arriving and settling, lying down. You turn your attention inward. So that's the first step. The second step of Yoga Nidra is you set a sankalpa, which is an intention. And it's an intention to train your mind to focus in on a particular direction, purpose of your practice. What do you want to not gain from the practice, but what do you want to intend in this practice? It could be relaxation, presence, gratitude, awareness. It doesn't have to be anything like earth-shattering. It's just, I'm intending to be here on my mat and to be present for the next 10, 15 minutes. The third step is body rotation. So as you're listening to the instructor, they are going to guide you to bring awareness to a certain part of your body, and it will, like I said at the beginning, it could start at the foot and shift to the shoulder. And the idea with that, it's the systematic conscious relaxation of the body through this body rotation. The next step is breath awareness. The instructor will guide you periodically to focus on the breath in, breath out, moving your attention inward and away from the external. Step 5 is experience opposite sensations. So this is interesting. I've taken some Yoga Nidra where they won't say anything about the hot and cold, but possibly it may be warm, cool, the experiencing different feeling and sensations of your body. It could be hot and cold. It could be impatience and patience. It could be feeling the yoga mat against your head, the air surrounding your body. It could be that. So that can really change depending on the instructor. Stage 6 is visualize. You're going to visualize specific objects or a scenario or something like they may guide you through visualizing yourself going down a pathway into a garden or going down steps to a beach. This helps to bring your awareness more deeply internally. And the visualization can be a shorter one or longer one, just depending on the instructor. Stage 7, Sankalpa, you're going to revisit your sankalpa, which is the intention, at the end of the session, to think and internalize into your subconscious. And stage 8 is externalization, to, as the instructor ends the practice, that's when you're slowly coming back to your body, because you'll feel connected, but depending on how deeply you've gone into the Yoga Nidra, the instructor will guide you out of the Yoga Nidra, and you will then end your practice either sitting up or lying down. And if you're ready to go to sleep, then you go to sleep. So how do you start to practice this Yoga Nidra? I would suggest first look at your favorite meditation app and look for a practice. Again, it could be under the sleep, so you could check on that. They vary there. I've seen some that are 10 minutes and some that are like 30 minutes long. I've fallen asleep with some of them, and they sometimes have music, sometimes no music. Traditionally no music. That's usually the way it is. When you're looking at Yoga Nidra, try a variety of classes. And how often should you do it? Well, you can do it a couple times, maybe 2, 3 times a week, maybe once a week. Just try it out. Just try during this week, try it out. I will be releasing on my YouTube channel a Yoga Nidra in the upcoming week. I'm going to be traveling in another couple of weeks, so I definitely want to get a Yoga Nidra class out. So go to the show notes, and my channel is on there. It's Heather Colwich at YouTube, and you can follow along so you'll see when it's released. And I have a couple of other yoga practices there and breath work and other videos. So follow along there, and you can also follow me over on Instagram. I hope this has been helpful and informative for you, and I'd love to know if you tried Yoga Nidra, or if you have one that you want to share. Find me over on Instagram at Heather Colwich, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.